and begin. So welcome everybody to another National Geographic Learning Professional Development webinar. Today we are talking about life-changing or defining moments, and I hope that you find it as interesting as I do. I'm sure lots of you know me, but just in case you don't, my name is Will Lachette, and I am an academic consultant and teacher trainer for National Geographic Learning from the UK, but I live in Singapore and I've been working in English language teaching since 2001. I want to know a little bit about you, so I'm going to launch my first poll, as I always do. So I just really would like to know what kind of teachers or who we have here today. So you can choose multiple choice, you can choose as many as are true for you. So do you teach teenagers, do you teach adults, or maybe you're not a teacher at all? That's fine. Okay, I'll give you a few more seconds to do that. Great, everyone has answered. Almost everyone has answered. Okay, that will do, right. So let's end the poll and have a look. Okay, so I can see here that you should be able to see the results on your screen. So 50%, half of you teach teenagers, 27% teach university students, and 23% teach adults. So those are the most relevant sections that we're talking about today: teens, university, and adults. You know, some of the ideas that we're looking at today are also relevant for young learners, but yeah, really the materials, the content for this sort of age range: teens, university, and adults. So thank you for sharing. And I'm going to explain a little bit about the materials, the content we're using today. So we're using material from our new program called Reflect. Okay, and this is a 6-level dual strand academic series. So that means that there are 6 reading and writing books and 6 listening and speaking books. And I really like this program. There are lots of excellent features. Today, we're going to be using level 1 of the reading and writing strand. And this is designed for A1 level students, sort of elementary level students, and they might be at secondary school, at college, or university. So I want to frame today's session in relation to the CASTLE framework, or CASTLE wheel, as it's sometimes called. So CASTLE, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but it stands for the Collaborative for Academic, Social and Emotional Learning. So you can see this SEL. So yeah, it's basically the authority on social emotional learning, and it divides it into 5 competencies. So I don't want to go too far into this at this stage. Just want to say that SEL, social emotional learning, it's an area of education that is really growing right now, and educators across the globe in all sectors are beginning to understand the importance of SEL and the benefits of incorporating it into a more holistic or whole child development approach to learning. So here is the framework, okay, and here are the 5 competencies: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decisions. Just out of interest, in the chat box for me, is this something that you're hearing much about in the school that you work in? Is this something that perhaps your management team are asking you to use more of in your lessons? So Yanran says yes. How about anyone else? Does anyone else have an opinion on this? Gisela said yes. Wayne says it's relatively new. Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, Wayne, it's something that's been around for a long time, but it's something that now, it's only now really it's sort of gaining the recognition that perhaps it deserves. Okay, lots and lots of yeses coming in. Great. So this should be a relevant session for us today. Okay, today I'm going to be using a classroom presentation tool. This is software, okay, to show you the materials. It's basically a piece of software that has all of the content, all of the materials, all the video, all of the audio, and this is how I'll be demonstrating the lesson to you today. Okay, so I'm just going to go to a new screen share. Just give me a second to do that. And we're going to go straight into our CPT. So today's lesson, as I said, it's about defining moments, okay? It is about life-changing moments. So we've got an image on the screen. I'd like you to type into the chat box for me. What do you think this man, okay, what kind of defining moment or life-changing moment do you think he might be experiencing right now? So I hope you can see the image. You've got a man here with a cap on, a baseball cap. Can anyone guess for me what kind of important moment? Zemaniso says becoming a father. Emma says hard to guess. John Patrick says nostalgic feeling. Okay, if I just move this over a little bit here so you can read the whole title, Defining Moments. Yeah, a couple of you have already got it. Can you see something in the bottom left of the screen? Right, but he's not looking at the baby. Where's he looking then? What do you think might be more of a life-changing moment than having one baby? Yeah, that's right. For having two babies. There we go. So this is our defining moment for this father here. Looks like he's a new father, and he's got two babies. He's got baby twins. So let me ask you another question. How will this man's life be different now? So this is a defining moment, a life-changing moment. How will his life be different from this day going forward? So what do you think? Very busy. Mayan says bills, lots of bills and responsibilities. That's right. It's going to cost a lot of money. Camille says lots of sleepless nights. He needs to work harder. He'll be working harder. Good. Lots of negative things. Anything good about having twins? Oh, Marifel, he'll be happier. That's good. Okay. Bonding, right? Mark says he'll have bonding times. He'll have happy moments. It's interesting, isn't it, that everyone immediately goes for those difficult things about having twins. Okay, yeah. So that's really interesting. You know, we can talk about this man's life. We can imagine what his life would be like. We can imagine how his life would be different. Okay, and I want to relate this back, okay, to what I just showed you just now, which is the Castle framework. Okay, so here are the five competencies, and if we have a look at a couple of these, okay, maybe if we look at something like social awareness. Okay, so if I click on there, you should be able to see the descriptors here. So if we're discussing this man's life and we're talking about how having twins is going to change his life, can you have a look at these descriptors? Can you see, are we using any of these skills here? Okay, when we look at that picture and we talk about that man, we talk about how his life is going to change. If we're looking at social awareness, one of the competencies, are any of these descriptors, are any of these related to our conversation about that man's life? Under social awareness, what do we think? So we've got taking others' perspectives, recognizing strength in others, showing concern for the feelings of others. Are we using any of those skills here? Right, showing concern. Right, okay, here we go. Showing concern. So almost all of you, straight away, you said he's going to be he's got more responsibility. Okay, it's going to be really hard for him. So we're using this. We're actually using this skill here. Taking others' perspectives. Right. So we were trying to put ourselves in his situation. Right. So we were talking about talking about what his life was going to be like. So we're taking his perspective, recognizing strength in others, right? A lot of you said, wow, it's twins. It's going to be really difficult. Wow, he's going to have to do a good job. So maybe we can recognize the skills that he will need, right? So we can see that a lot of these descriptors under social awareness, we're actually bringing into the lesson through our conversation by looking at this photo, right? We could also click on another one, self-awareness. And under self-awareness, we could probably find another couple here that we could identify, maybe here identifying emotions. Okay, here, identifying one's emotions. Okay, maybe we have certain feelings when we look at that photo. So definitely at least these two areas here, through our conversation, we can really expand on an activity, a simple activity, just by looking at a photo, and we can really relate it very strongly into these SEL competencies. And we're going to come back to this throughout the lesson, okay? So we ask questions. How is he feeling? What is he thinking? How would you feel in this situation? So let's answer that last one, right? How would you feel in this situation if you were holding newborn twins? Okay, it's the first time to become a parent. How would you feel in this situation? Let's see if you can empathize with this man. You would feel moved, Chris. Nervous. Yes, I would feel nervous. Actually, I have friends who just had twins, and I know how much work it is. Anxious and excited, awestruck, right? To hold these two tiny humans. I would feel fabulous, excited. Zebanisa always dreamed of having twins, right? Amazing. Okay, right. So we're using our social and emotional skills here to think about how we would feel, to think about how he would feel. Okay, great. Before we move on, can you think for me, so we're talking about having a baby. Are there any other life-changing moments that you can think of? So having a baby is one. What other kind of life-changing or defining moments can you think of? Let's drop a few in the chat box, see what we can think of. Getting a job, going to university, changing your career, graduating, right? Death of a loved one. Yes, exactly. Okay, losing a loved one, right? Getting married, getting a new job, getting married, winning the lottery, getting married, getting a job, losing a job, winning the lottery, having an adventure, right? Some great ideas here. Migrating, Karen. Going to another country, Shujang, right? Exactly the same. Migrating, moving to another country, starting a business. Ellen says trying bungee jumping for the first time. Wow. So a really big variety of different types of activities that change our lives. Fantastic. Okay, let's move on. We're going to do today an interesting reading. And we could watch this interesting video here about this 14-year-old girl who trekked to the North Pole, but we don't have time for that. Okay, we're going to focus on the reading today. Likewise, we could do this vocabulary. Obviously, if this was a real lesson with my students, my A1 students, we would obviously learn this vocabulary. But we're not going to do that because I think you know that vocabulary. So I want to focus on some other aspects of the lesson today. So we're going to look at this reflect box here. And the task is sharing a special moment. So this in this case here, it doesn't have to be a life-changing moment. We're just going to read about special moment. So a special moment is something positive, something nice, something memorable, something you enjoyed, okay? A special moment. So I want you to think about that. Rather than life-changing moment, can you type into the chat box for me a special moment that you've had recently? So something special, something you enjoyed, something a bit different to what you normally do. So what kind of event was that? Anyone type that into the chat box for me? So a recent event you went to or something you did which you felt was special. And this would be something that we would do in the classroom, we would do as a discussion. Or maybe I can give you an example. Okay, so a special moment. I could tell you, for example, recently I had my second child, and we went out for a meal recently at a restaurant, and both of my children didn't cry for the whole meal. And it meant we could actually sit and enjoy ourselves. So that was, for me, was a special moment. Okay, here are some here. I've got here my son sharing his job problems with me. Okay, interesting, Ellen. Took my nephew to a science museum. That sounds lovely, Marifel. Educational. Hearing my daughter finally speaking English after years of teaching her, man. Wow. I saw a baby fox. Amazing. A baby fox. How lovely. Got my favorite coffee ever. That is a special moment. I bought my house recently. Well, congratulations, Anne. That is fantastic. Right. So again, this big variety of of special moments. Can you tell me, well, questions 2 and question 3, what was different about this moment? And linked to that, why do you remember it? Okay. So a special moment, you know, what was different about this moment and why do you remember it? Right, because it doesn't happen often. Ellen says yes, because it doesn't happen often. So it's infrequent, right? Something that it's special because it doesn't happen a lot of times. Okay, any other reasons why we tend to remember moments? Someone says here, try bouldering. That sounds fun. So when we think about these special moments, what makes them memorable? It strikes in our core. So I think you're talking about here, maybe the emotion, right? It makes you feel a strong emotion. The result was awesome. So if there's a very good result, we tend to remember it. If it's the first time, Evora says, the first time you do it, we tend to remember things, right? So there are sort of specific things that make events special for us, that make us remember them, right? Okay, let's move on and have a look at the reading. Okay, so I'm going to go into single page view and we're going to have a look at an image here. So here is an image. Can you tell me, what can you see? This is an image from a hotel in America. So I can see a telephone. And what do you think this telephone, okay, what do we think it's for? I can see an apartment. So this is actually outside a hotel. Michael Cahill says it's a telephone to order popsicles. Okay, right, and popsicle up here, right? Maybe use a different word. I would say ice lolly for this one. Okay, right, so a telephone we can use to order ice lollies. Okay, that sounds nice, doesn't it? Okay, so how do we think this might be linked to a special moment? What do you think might be special about this? Right, childhood memories, right? So if you think about popsicles or ice lollies or ice pops, what does that make you think of? Does that make you think of your childhood? Does it bring back good memories? And you probably find that there are certain other, right, Michael says the ice cream truck song, exactly, right? That's a very powerful memory. Still today, if I hear that, okay, it brings me back to my childhood. Thinking about summer, carefree childhood, right? So we've got the memory here of an ice pop or a popsicle, okay, bringing back these powerful, interesting memories from our childhood. Okay, right, so that's great. We're going to have a look. Let me bring both pages back and we're going to have a look at the reading here. And the reading that we're doing today is called The Power of a Moment. So what we're going to do, okay, I'm going to make that as big as I can so you can read it. And we're going to listen and we're going to follow along. So we're just going to read the first paragraph first, and I'm going to ask you a few questions, okay? So let's read and listen, just the first paragraph.
Unit 8, Defining Moments. Pages 132 and 133. Read. The power of a moment. Everyone can remember special moments. Think of your childhood. You probably remember one or two things that happened because they were very special. This is the way the brain works. We forget the usual things that happened and remember the moments that were different. After a vacation, you will probably remember swimming at a beautiful beach. You will also remember a terrible thing like losing your passport. These events give you opposite feelings, but they are both unusual. We call this the power of a moment.
Great, so this is the introductory paragraph. So can anyone summarize for me in the chat box, what do we mean by the power of a moment, okay, linked to the things we've already been talking about. So what is it about certain moments that make them memorable to us? So Amir says something we'll remember because of its uniqueness. Right, okay, so because something is different, this is something that we tend to remember. Okay, now is it always something good? Something that has impact on our lives. Right, impact, that's a good way of describing it. Yeah, Miss Renita says we can remember good, so things which are very good or things which are very bad. Okay, these are things which we tend to remember. And that is what we refer to as the power of a moment. It has impact because it is something different. Okay, fantastic. All right, let's read on, okay, and listen to paragraph 2. Move this up a little bit.
We can use this information in different ways. One way is in business. For example, the Magic Castle Hotel in Los Angeles makes special moments a part of your stay. The hotel offers popsicle moments. You pick up a red phone by the pool and someone brings you a free popsicle. Other hotels may have better restaurants, bigger swimming pools, or nicer rooms, but special events like this make the Magic Castle Hotel more popular. Other businesses can be successful with special events too.
Great, okay, so that's pretty clever, isn't it? So it's talking here about the image that we looked at here. And did anyone manage to hear, or did anyone read here what actually is happening in this photo? So it's from this hotel called the Magic Castle Hotel. And what is it that they're doing in their business there? What's this image all about, right? It's a free ice lolly, right? So you pick up the phone, you're by the pool, okay, you're having a lovely time swimming by the pool, you're a bit hot, the weather's nice, and you pick up the phone and you talk to someone and they bring you down this free ice lolly that you can then eat next to the pool, right? So let me ask you a few questions about this. Is that something that you've ever experienced? Have you ever had that kind of service before? It's a great customer experience, isn't it, Mark? So for me, that's something that I've never experienced, right? But I think it sounds really nice when you think about the setting. Okay, I think it's something I'd really enjoy. And also, is that something that's very expensive for the hotel? Okay, do you think that that's something that costs them a lot of money? It's not, is it? Do you think it's something that you would remember? Okay, if you were in that hotel, if you had that, do you think that's something that you would remember for a long time? I think it definitely is. So we can see that this is something, it's a very powerful marketing technique, isn't it? It's something that the hotel have hit on that's really going to work well, doesn't cost them a lot of money, and creates this powerful moment. So this is a, well, you can tell me, what area of our lives, so if we look at paragraph 2, what area of our lives is this talking about that a power of a moment? A moment can be very powerful. What area of our lives? You can probably see that in the first sentence here in paragraph 2. So is this talking about who is this going to be beneficial for? Right, Juan says, right, yes, the Magic Castle Hotel business. So we can say the power of a moment can be important for business, okay? So that's the first area of our lives it can be important. Okay, let's listen to paragraph number 3.
Another area where special moments can be useful is in education. Teachers can offer special moments in class. Many students forget parts of their normal lessons. A special moment like having a class outside can make lessons easier to remember. Why not create a special moment every month?
Great. Okay, so this is paragraph 3. So we already talked about business. How about this paragraph? Which area of our life is this talking about? Paragraph number 3. Shujang's got it. This is talking about education, so very relevant to us, right? And what idea do they give us for making our lessons more memorable? What's the example that they give? Right, take students outside, okay, and they say this, because it's something different, it's something we don't normally do, okay, this will make our lessons more memorable. Do you think that would work? I think it would, because I remember my teacher actually doing that when I was at secondary school. They took us outside, and I still remember that lesson. So this is something I think that definitely works. Okay, let's have a look at the next area, okay, paragraph 4.
An especially good place to create special moments is at home with the family. For example, parents can plan a surprise, perhaps leaving on a trip at night. Because children love surprises, they will always remember that trip.
Great, so paragraph 4, which area of our lives is this talking about? So we did business, we did education, and next we're doing family or home. Yes, okay, it's at home. Okay, we can see here. So 3 areas of our lives where we can use this information that we remember things which are different or unique, okay, for our benefit, right? What's the example that they give here? They say children love surprises, and they give an example of something. Yes, plan a surprise, exactly. And they give the example of maybe leaving on a trip, but what's different about this trip? Leaving on a trip, yes, unusual hour of departure, right? So leaving in the middle of the night. So getting up in the night and leaving on holiday, that'll be exciting for the children, right? Okay, and that will be more memorable. Again, I remember doing this in my childhood. I remember my father making us get up at 3 in the morning to drive to take the ferry over to France, so we didn't get stuck in the traffic. So I remember this very clearly. So these things really do work. All right, okay, let's listen to the last paragraph, okay, the conclusion.
We remember unusual events, so it's a good idea to find new and exciting ways to do things. We can create our own special moments at work, at school, and at home.
Great. So I think very interesting article. I think there's a lot of things that we can take from this article, a lot of things we can learn from it. If we talk about just us as teachers, as educators, what's a takeaway that you can get from this article? So what can we learn as teachers? What advice is it giving us? Or what's something we should keep in mind when we are teaching? So you can see paragraph 3 here. So what's something that we might learn? Okay, Ellen says, I'm going to devise a surprise activity once in a while. Keiko says, think outside of the box, create special lesson plans. We need to make students excited, right? So this article, I think, is a very good reminder to us that if we do the same thing every time, okay, then this is something that our students are not going to really benefit from, and it's not memorable. And if it's not memorable, they won't learn things as well. But not only for education, this goes in all areas of our life, in work, in education, and in our home lives as well. So this, I think, is very good advice, just for us in our lives, right? Ellen says, thank you. That was an eye opener. I'm really glad. Okay, so what we could do, we could try and extend this a little bit as an activity. So I've done that. I've gone over now into my OneNote. And what we could do in the class, we could put down these 3 categories: business, education, and at home. And we could get our students to brainstorm ideas, like suggestions. What could we do to have an impact on these areas of our life? So I've got a few ideas I'm going to share with you. So I've got one here. I've put have a picnic in the living room. So if we look at this suggestion, where which area of our lives is this most relevant to? So is this relevant to business, in education, or at home? Okay, so it's most relevant to at home. Okay, so we can put that one over there, right? Let's try another one. How about this one? So to make something more relevant, interesting, to make it more memorable, we could hand out prizes. So which area of our lives might this be relevant? So this could be in business, could be in education. Okay, so maybe I put it in the middle there. Okay, could be both, right? That might be a way of making things more memorable. And the last one I've put here, send a free sample unit of a course book. So what do we think about that one? Actually, this is something I'm going to show you later on, how you can get your own free unit from Reflect coursebook. So I'm going to do this for you today. Yeah, so this could be education, couldn't it? Okay, for me, it's my job, so it could be business. So this, again, we could put this kind of in the middle here. And we could get our students to think of different ways that we could make things more exciting, make them more memorable. Shall we just do one of these? How about for education? Can you give me an idea? Okay, so let's see if you can brainstorm for me. What other things could we do as educators to use this idea, this concept of the power of a moment? Can you try and think of an idea and put it in the chat box for me? So we could give out prizes. We could have a lesson outside, was the idea in the article. Can you think of another idea? You could eat your lunch together with the students, with the class. Yeah, that's a great idea. I quite often used to take in food from my country. So, I'm teaching abroad. So I used to take in special food from the UK and give it to my students, and that they always really enjoyed that. We could do cosplay lesson, right? Get everyone to dress up. They'd love that, wouldn't they? Have a special event like a party. Give out a medal when they pass. Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? Give them like an actual medal. They'd love that. Motivate creating a vision board. Have a flip and roll, so students take the lead in a subject they're familiar. Right, so let the students become the teacher for a while. Invite the parents to the classroom. Thank you. Someone said all my webinars are memorable. That's very kind. We could let them take their pets into the classroom. Right, that might cause chaos, but yes, I think that would definitely be memorable. Right, okay, you've got some really good ideas here. So yeah, the power of a moment, thinking outside the box, using different ideas, this will make things more memorable. Perfect. Okay, let's go back into the lesson. Okay, and we're going to have a look at the next activity. So we've got a reading skill here, which is talking about annotating a text. And it tells us, it's got some very clear directions here on how to mark up the text so that you get the most information from it. So it talks about highlighting or underlining important ideas, circling important information, taking notes, and writing questions. Okay, now we're not going to do all of that, but I will do a few of these things. So what we could do here, we can take something like our highlighter. Let me just move that down a little bit. So we've got the whole article, and we could ask our students to go through and pick out the key points. So we could talk about, for example, in business, in education, and at home. Okay, and we could also pick out, for example, the examples. So the popsicle moment. Okay, so let's just highlight that. You pick up a red phone by the pool, someone brings you a free popsicle. For the special moment in education, we've got have a class outside, and special moment at home. Okay, leave on a trip at night. Okay, so we can get our students to go through, mark up the text, make sure they're getting the key points. Okay, now remember, someone asked me earlier, is this for A1 students? This is for A1 students. The text might be slightly above their level, but by doing activities like this, where we're really going through marking up the text, okay, this will make the content, okay, manageable for the level. Okay, we're not going to go through all of those stages, okay, because I want to go on to the next page. All right, so also to help our students to understand, okay, when we've read a nice article like that, especially as later we're going to want to do them some writing. Okay, we're going to go through and we're going to have a look at the main ideas. I want to show you this activity because I really like the way that it is presented. Okay, so again, we've got the article here and we can listen to it. And then on the right, we've got 6 headings, okay, which we're going to match to the different paragraphs. So this is kind of similar to an IELTS task, isn't it? And we could also think of these as headings or as one-line summaries for each paragraph. So we're going to do this together. Notice here there are 6, so that means there's 1 that we don't need. Okay, so there's 1 extra idea. So let's have a look at the first paragraph. I'm just going to highlight it there for you. So it's talking about the special moments. It's saying that we often forget things which were kind of boring, and we remember really good things or really bad things. So can you have a look at the headings here and tell me which of these do you think matches with that first paragraph? Okay, a few of you saying F, so let's put that in. We remember special moments more than the rest of life. Great. So even if the students don't understand all of the paragraph here, when they read this one-line summary, that they've got the main idea, right? Okay, next paragraph. Okay, I'll let you take a look at that. I can highlight paragraph 2. Okay, and which of the headings do you think this is? Okay, most of you are saying A. All right, so we're going to put in here businesses can offer special moments. Great. Paragraph 3. Paragraph 3 is about education. So we've got a synonym here, right? So we've got education. So we're looking for the word teacher, right? So looking for that synonym. How about paragraph 4? So again, we've got a synonym here. How did you know that it's this one, B? How did you know that? Okay, yeah, okay. Well, it does say parents, but yeah, it also uses this at home, right? So at home, okay, obviously that's going to be parents, okay, and family. So we can see the middle paragraphs here is, there's a formula, isn't there? It's something can something, right? So businesses can offer, teachers can use, parents can use. And then the final one, the final paragraph, the summary, okay, or the conclusion. Which one? And this is the advice that we're giving. We should look for different ways to do things. So as I said, I really like the way this is presented because it's showing us these it's basically an essay plan, isn't it? So we've got a kind of 5-paragraph, 5-sentence essay plan, which is very, very simple, very easy for the students to understand, right? So I love the way that highlights, it's not just showing us the main ideas, it's showing us the structure that we need to follow in a piece of writing like this. Okay, great job. We've got one left over. How we remember things changes when we get older. And I want to do another quick activity that uses this idea. So let's go back over to my OneNote. And this is something that I'm interested in, okay, and I hope that you're interested in it too. So what does this mean? It says how we remember things changes as we get older. So what does that mean? I think it means that our perception of how things were changes over time. So as an example of that, I can tell you, I'm going to use an idiom, which is, maybe some of you have heard it, which is to view the past with rose-colored glasses. Okay, to view the past with rose-colored glasses. So has anyone ever heard that idiom or that phrase before? And if you have, what does it mean? So to view the past with rose-colored glasses. So it's talking about, it's saying that we tend to forget certain things and only remember other things, okay? Yes, okay, Karen's got it. It means to remember the past more fondly than we may have experienced it. So it means that we tend to forget all the sort of little things that we don't like, we put out of our mind. So we remember the big things which were terrible, but all the day-to-day boring things, boring details, things that annoyed us, we just put them out of our minds and we don't remember them. So that's one example of this, what this is saying, how we remember things change as we get older. So I'll give you another example. So I told you earlier, I've become a father for the second time recently, and I realized that I'd forgotten a lot about what it's like to have a newborn baby at home. Which bits do you think I might have forgotten? Can you have a guess? So my second child, again, I'm thinking, I don't remember doing this with my first child. What kind of things do you think I might have forgotten about in the 3.5 years since my first child was born? Can anyone have a guess? Right, forgot how often you have to change the diaper, right? Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't this much the first time round. So there are lots of small things like this. I forgot how much babies cry. I forgot how often they wake up. I forgot how difficult it is. As I said, you forget all of the kind of difficult, tiring, boring parts, right? And you only remember the good things, all right? Okay, so how about you for this sentence here? How we remember things changes as we get older. I want you to type into the chat box for me. Do you agree with this or do you disagree? Just to see your opinion. Agree. Okay, we've got Yumiko agrees. Pasaraporn agrees. Okay, and if you do agree, can any of you give an example of something that you remember differently now to how you felt at the time? So I've got some examples here, maybe something from school, okay, maybe something in your first job. Okay, can anyone give me an example of something that you remember very differently now? Karen says, I agree, because at each stage we have different priorities, and so we remember different aspects of a memory, perhaps. Yes, I think that's right. And also, as you go through life, things tend to get more difficult, don't they? So maybe something that you remember being difficult when you were young, being at school, for example, when you're older, you don't think it was so hard. Evora says an embarrassing moment then and a fun, right, okay, something, yes, exactly. So something that maybe you felt so embarrassed about when it happened, but now you look back and you can see the funny side, right? That's a very good example, Evora. Okay, another example. School days may be tough when you were students, but when you grow up and look back, it's funny. Exactly. Yes, I think that's a very good example. Mayan says the irony of things, how we see them then and how we see it now. That's right. If we knew at the time, right, if we knew how good our life was then, we would have appreciated it more, right? Because things seem to get more difficult. Okay, right. I'm going to tell you a quick story, okay, about something about me, okay, because I want to relate this to the Castle framework again. So I remember when I was at secondary school, I had, or I thought I had, a reputation for being quite funny, and I like to do things which were unexpected, or sometimes a bit outrageous. And when I look back at my behavior at the time, so at the time, as I said, I thought I was really funny. I thought I was really edgy, right? Really different. But now when I think about it, I think sometimes I I said things which maybe were hurtful to other people. And I sometimes said things which I kind of knew would upset people, but I was more interested in how it made me look, right? So I sometimes made people laugh at the expense of other people. And, you know, now I'm older, I can see that, and I can see that, you know, it wasn't a very nice thing to do. Okay, whereas at the time I thought it was funny, and I wanted to do it because I thought other people would like me because of that. So this is a story about how my perception has changed about you know, my behavior when I was younger. And I want to go back into the Castle framework here, and I want to have a look at responsible decision making. Okay, so if that story that I just told you about the way that I behaved when I was younger, sometimes I made fun of other people who were vulnerable because I wanted to get a laugh. So if I look at this responsible decision making, if we have a look at these descriptors, can we see any of these, okay, which are related to that story? So I'm going to maybe give you an example here. So if I look at this one, the fourth bullet point down, it says anticipating and evaluating the consequences of one's actions, right? So I can see here that now I realize that the consequence of my actions back then was hurtful. I probably upset people a lot more than I realized, right? And now I talk about it, now I think about it, I can realize that, okay, and I can understand that that was not the right way to do. So we can easily link, again, our experiences, we can link into SEL, right? Maybe another example of this would be down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, if I look at evaluating impact, right? So again, I can talk about how my actions when I was younger probably had a big impact on certain people, which I didn't understand at the time. It had an interpersonal impact, perhaps even a community impact. So what we can do by telling anecdotes like this, by telling stories, by getting students to share things that they've done, we can weave this into SEL and we can get our students to analyze and to think about how their behavior, okay, and how the things they do, how they affect other people. And I think also by telling stories like that, we can get hopefully students to open up. Remember, this is for adult students. We can get them to open up and share their own experiences. And I've got a couple of examples here from KF, okay, from Karen. Says, my grandma talks about situations where she used to be fearless about, but now she can't imagine doing because she feels super afraid, like going out somewhere, okay, somewhere foreign. Right, okay, so there we go. So that's how our behavior changes as we get older, right, Karen? It's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Another one from Evora, how hard it was to fall asleep back then for time called siesta, mid-afternoon nap, and how hard to actually sleep right now at night after a tiresome day as an adult. Right, okay, so the situation of falling asleep has changed for you. Okay, great. So, okay, thank you for sharing those ideas. Again, I hope you can see how we can use conversation in class, okay, to relate back to these important descriptors, okay, and get students to think about their own behavior. Okay, let's go back into our lesson. Okay, so don't have a lot of time. Okay, so we've got probably last activity we're going to do here. So we've got a critical thinking activity, which is linked to the annotation that we did earlier on. And it's talking about how do we understand a reading? Okay, so critical thinking activity. And the tip here is that we ask questions while we read. And I love that because it's talking about reading, okay, which is a receptive skill, and it's talking about how we can make that more active. So we can actually make it almost like a conversation with the writer, okay, by asking questions and then trying to answer them, all right? So let me go back into the reading over here, and we're going to try this example. Okay, so sorry, I forgot to mention what kind of question. So we want questions like, what is the writer trying to say? What does this part mean? Do I agree? What other examples can I think of? So let's go back in here. All right, and I'm going to highlight a few passages, okay, and I'm going to ask you what kind of question we could ask. Okay, so let's see. The first one I want to highlight is this. We forget the usual things that happened and remember the moments that were different. Okay, so what I want to ask here, I'm going to ask a question. So I'm going to write it in the, margin here. Okay, do I agree? Okay, and I'm going to ask you this question, okay? So we forget the usual things that happened and remember the moments that were different. So do I agree? Or maybe a different question I can ask here, maybe a better one, okay? Is this always true? So let's use that question. I'm going to change it, not do I agree. Is this always true? And I want to hear your opinion. Do you think that's always true? Do we forget all of the usual things that happen and remember only the things that were different? Or do you think that that's not true? Okay, so Zebaniso says yes. Okay, that's true. Amir says no. Shujang says no, not really. It depends. Okay, so can you think of a different kind? So I think we can agree that sometimes we do remember things that have an impact on us, but are there other types of experiences that we remember very clearly? So see if you can think of an example. I've got an example I can give you, but I want to see if you can give one to me. So Mark says moments that are different have elements of usual things in them. They do, yes. Right, Ellen, you've got it. And this is exactly what I was going to say. Routine is something that's easy to remember. So if I think about like going to school, for example, I remember very clearly walking to school, walking home from school every day. And the reason I remember doing that is because I did it every day. So it wasn't special, but it was very familiar. It was part of my routine. Now, so we've got a counterexample here, right? So although I agree with this, I totally agree that we do forget lots of mundane things and we do remember things that are different. I also have a counter argument, which I only thought of because I asked this question. Is it always true? It's not always true because we also remember routines. So we can see here that this critical thinking exercise of just by asking a question, I've now got a different opinion, okay, which I've brought out from this article. I think this is a really good technique to teach our students. Shall we do one more? How about this one? I'm going to highlight something else. Okay, so let me just clear this and we'll do one more highlight. Okay, let's do one in here. It says, many students forget parts of their normal lessons. Okay, so let's highlight that. And I'm going to ask you, so what question could we ask here, okay, which would make us think a bit more deeply about this? We could ask, is this true, right? Or we could ask something else. So many students forget. See if you can come up with a question for me. Thank you, Michael. Okay, Michael says, which parts do they forget? Right, which parts? Okay, I'm just going to write that to keep it short. Yeah, what are the normal parts? Right, what are them? So which parts do they forget? What are the normal parts? Why do they forget them? And then when we start asking these questions, we can try and answer them. So which parts do they forget? They probably forget the bits where they're working on their own, okay, where they're writing down some notes in their book, okay, when they're not talking to anyone, the bits where they're being passive, I would say they tend to forget. Okay, why do they forget that? They forget it because it is uninspiring. They forget it because there's nothing memorable about it. So we can actually get into a discussion here with ourselves. We can answer ourselves. We can also discuss with other people. So this technique, this critical thinking technique of questioning the article, okay, really helps us to dig deeper and get more from the text, okay? And I think that is a really, really useful teaching tip, but also as a learning tip for your students. That's going to be fantastic. Okay, right, we are almost out of time. So we're going to leave that, okay, and we're going to go back into the my PowerPoint, okay, so I can start to wrap this up. Okay, so just give me a second. I stop sharing. We go back in. Okay, so yeah, I just want to remind you, okay, what we've been looking at today. So we've been looking at this book, okay, which is Reflect, academic skills book. This was the reading and writing. And I think hopefully, as you've seen today, something that really stands out about using lessons from Reflect is that they're set in a very relatable context. So the students, they're gaining academic skills that they need, but they're also enjoying kind of real world ideas, real world content. It's called Reflect because it's one of the strong emphasis is that we want students to really reflect on their own lives. So they want to self-examine, okay? And this ties in obviously really strongly, and there are plenty of opportunities for social and emotional learning activities. So these activities give our adult learners opportunities to work on their EQ levels and to work on their personal and also their human development, because we're doing much more, we want to do much more. Our aim is to teach more than just English. Okay, so yeah, just tying it back one more time to this, okay, I think it's really helpful for us as teachers to refer to this and to look for opportunities where what we're teaching can tie in with this and make that clear to our students as well. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed the lesson today. If you're interested in the content that you saw today, if you're interested in the Reflect program and you'd like to know more about it, please feel free to send me an email. You can actually reply directly to the automatic email you got today to remind you about this webinar. And if you do that, if you respond, then I can give you more information about Reflect, answer any questions that you might have. Tomorrow, we're going to send you a follow-up email, which will include a certificate and which will also include a link to the recording so that you'll be able to rewatch what we've done today. Okay, so please look out for that. You'll get it by the end of the day tomorrow. And just want to show you that we've got a couple of webinars coming up. Well, actually, we've got one webinar coming up. It's me again. I don't know, some of you might have already registered for this. Julie, if you're there, can you please drop the registration links into the chat box for this webinar? I put them on Slack earlier. Not sure Julie's here. Okay, in which case I'm going to stop sharing for a moment because I need to go over here and get a couple of things. So there are a couple of things I want to drop into the box for you. So yeah, I've got another webinar coming up on June the 15th. Okay, and here are the registration links. So this is going to be a webinar which is about cultural awareness and future readiness. So I'd love to see you there. So please join us for that. Okay, I've got a few more links that I'd like to share with you. The first one, I'm going to share you the castle wheel that we've been looking at today. Okay, so that's in there. So have a look at that. I think that's something that we should all be referring to, okay, to make our lessons, to include this really important aspect of learning. A couple more links for you. I'm going to drop in here. If you're interested in just finding a bit more information about Reflect, the unit I was using today, you can click on this link here. And one more, I said earlier that for business, things that we can do which will be memorable. I'm going to give you a link here. If you click on this link, the last one there, if you click on that, that will actually take you to a page where you can download free units from Reflect. And there's actually one unit which you can download from each level of Reflect. So that's something that you can download it and you'll be able to use that in your classes as well. I hope you do that, and I hope your students enjoy it. So please take advantage of that. So click on that link, okay? I'll put it in again, okay? Click on it. Okay, tell me if it works, okay? Tell me, it should take you directly to a page where you can download your free page, your free unit. Let me just share my screen again, just for a second. Okay, and here. There we go. So this is a slide showing you how to do it. So yeah, if you clicked on that link, if you click this program information, and then you can click on try unit, and then you can see here all of the units there that you can download and have a look and hopefully try out some of those ideas in your lessons. Okay, final thing from me. If you haven't already followed us on Facebook, please do. You can find us at facebook.com/ELTNGL Asia. If you go to Facebook and type ELTNGL Asia, you will be able to find us there. I might as well drop that link in as well, just so everything's easy for you. Okay, so let me drop that in. I haven't been looking at the chat box. I'm just going to go back through and see if there are any questions here. Okay, lots of people saying thanks for sharing. Okay, thank you very much for joining. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed some of the ideas there, and I hope that you enjoyed thinking, okay, about these different situations. Okay, so stay posted, okay, for the email, which will get to you by the end of the day tomorrow. And yeah, please register for my upcoming webinar. I'm just going to drop those links in one more time. Okay, so here is the registration links one more time for my next webinar on cultural awareness and being future ready. Great. Juan, excellent. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Ellen says, your webinar is so easy to remember. That's great. So obviously something a little bit different, something memorable. Okay, thanks very much, everyone. I am going to end the webinar here. So have a great day and we'll see you again soon. Okay, all right, goodbye.